everybody. Welcome to our MASL Message Live in November. I'm Jen Baldwin, your MASL president, and we do this once a month on the second Monday of each month from 6 to 7 to give you some updates about MASL as well as introduce you to a very important person in our world of school librarians. This month, I am proud to introduce you to Jared Chapman. He is our Show Me nominated author and illustrator of the book Seals Are Jerks. He's done many other different books as well as the former science teacher. Jared, I'm sure you will talk about some of your other books, but we will focus on Seals Are Jerks tonight. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen and go ahead and get started. Why don't you introduce yourself, Jared, and tell us a little bit about your writing journey and illustrator journey?
Sure, yeah. My name is Jared Chapman, and I live in Texas, but uh, kind of like the part of Texas where like no one knows. And so I've always drawn as a little bitty kid, and I went to school for animation and was working in Austin as an animator, and always really enjoyed picture books. And so I have a friend who's his name is Bob Shea. He also writes picture books. And Bob was telling me, he was like, hey, you should try this. You should try to write a picture book. So I did, and it was terrible, but that's okay because I learned a lot. And slowly over time got better at it. And then in 2012, I sold my first picture book to Little Brown, and it was called Pirate, Viking, and Scientist. And I think that book came out in 2014. So I've been doing it for a little bit longer than 10 years. Um, so that is sort of the story in a nutshell. It's I condensed it because it's more boring than that. But I gave you the highlights.
There is absolutely nothing boring about authors in our lives. Authors and illustrators are rock stars. And I
Oh, you're
remember
nice.
I remember reading Pirate, Viking, and Scientist because it integrated the scientific method. And so when I got this book, I was like, why wasn't this? Because I was a science teacher back in 2001. I was like, why wasn't this around when I needed it? When we were introducing that in second and third grade, it was the most fantastic book to use because it was also talking about friendships and things like that. And then we also have vegetables and underwear, which every preschool student will love all the way through, and then fruits and soups. So let's talk more about seals are jerks. What I'm going to ask the question, what came first, chicken or the egg? Was it the illustrations or was it
Right.
the writing, the
So
story itself?
yeah, so typically, like for me, like it's always pictures first, just because that's what I'm most comfortable with. Seals or Jerks was the exception to all the other books that I've done, in that like it actually came about because of like something that happened to my daughter when she was in, I think, first grade. She had had a her first grade teacher was a friend of my wife and mine, and she called. Well, let me back up. Lorelai, who's that's actually my daughter's name. She got my wife picked her up from school. She was really upset about something. And my wife asked her, what the problem was. And all she would say was that seals were jerks. And her teacher called a few days later to sort of touch base and be like, and she told us that her they had been doing a lesson on Antarctica, and they were finishing up. They were watching like a little clip of a documentary, and Christy, her teacher, said that she was in the back of the classroom and she was like, doing something while the kids watched it, and she had the thought, oh, forgot there's a pretty intense scene coming up where a seal goes after a penguin. I should probably pause the documentary just to sort of, prepare everyone. And as soon as she thought it, it came on screen and the entire class lost it. And so Christy said that she might have traumatized her entire class, and she was sort of doing damage control and apologizing. And anyways, and so I thought it was a really funny story. And I told my agent about it, and she was the one that said, "Oh, you should that's a picture book. You should try to write that." And I have to credit Rebecca, my agent, with having the foresight to see that it was a picture book. So this one was it was kind of neither. I guess the story came first.
Right. That's so great that it's also a story from your family and your daughter as well. Are there other inspirations that you took from this? Um, there was one line in particular that print is out of date. That I'm like, oh, Jared, we're gonna have to talk.
I know. I wrote that in the manuscript totally expecting Scholastic to flag it and be like, you can't put that in a book. And they never did. And it might be that or the picture of the penguins trying to avoid eye contact, maybe my two favorite things about the book. Um, but yeah, like I was really shocked that it made it through.
Yeah. I was like, "Oh, the joys of being a librarian and having the kids giggle at that when they see it." And
Right.
I'm like, "You know
Yes.
that this is fake." I actually had a student yell, "Fake news!" It was great to have. Um, so I was like, "Yay, some media literacy in there as well." So, um, your books are always full of humor. This one includes a ton of animal facts. How hard is it to do that in a picture book? Like, to get to where a reluctant reader can easily be entertained, but also, merge those 2 of information and story into a few pages.
Yeah, I feel like I learned a lot with this book. I learned a lot about the, the like economy of words. I feel like, and I had a lot of really smart people that helped me, like my editor, and Rebecca, and the other folks at Scholastic, that were able to, I'd turn in a draft or a version of the book, and they would be like, "Oh yeah, what if what if we did some of this?" And going back and forth, we were able to sort of like find the perfect tone for the book. Um, I think that for me personally, I think a lot of it has to do with happy accidents a little bit. Like it's not like when I'm writing this stuff, like I'm consciously thinking about what's the perfect way to, draw someone in. A lot of it is just like what I think is funny. And I feel like if I can sort of follow that North Star, it sort of sets me on the right path. Like it may not always lead me exactly where I think I'm going, but it's in the ballpark. Um, so yeah.
With your illustrations, with the integration of the cartoons and the speech bubbles, there's so many things that we can integrate, and it's a great way for graphic novels as well. Was that intentional, or was that something that as your editor was doing, as you were making it as illustrations,
Mhm.
was that just an aha moment of this is going to be perfect, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so I think that is sort of like my default. Growing up with, reading Peanuts and Calvin and Hobbes
Mm,
in the, Sunday paper. That's just sort of like has embedded into my DNA. And so Seals wasn't the first book that I've done that with. I've done other books, like that, like T-Rex Time Machine. Um, uh, but it's just sort of like it's just what comes natural, I
right.
think, for me. And I think it works well too for the audience. But yeah, like it wasn't necessarily a conscious decision. It was just sort of, just the way it sort of, bleh, came out.
Right. It works really, really well, and the kids really enjoy it, and it's easy to do voices, and they just make great read alouds as well. Um, I know that with all your facts that you have, I'm thinking back to the scientist book as well. It's really easy to integrate into cross-curricular areas. Do you have you been to schools or seen different programs or read aloud activities that you're like, that I can't believe a teacher decided to do that with my book, or a school librarian, as you do school visits and things that you're like, wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've been to schools with this book, like I went on tour with it. I never had the chance to sort of sit down and talk to
Mhm.
teachers or to librarians. I mean, outside of just like, little, short conversations before students came in. Um, I haven't come across anything that I can recall off the top of my head, but I know that it's probably out there. I feel like for me personally, I'm a lot like a roly poly. I just sort of live under rocks. So yeah, I don't know of anything off the top of my head, but I know that teachers and librarians are so creative, um, that I know it's out there. But yeah,
Looking at the chat, Hope Hunter says that she's reading this as a follow-up to a research unit. The kids are going to debate whether seals are really jerks or not with facts found on our online encyclopedias and databases. Thanks to the Show Me Committee for the idea. I'm really looking forward to this lesson plan. So I know our Show Me Committee makes um, little lesson guides for each one of the nominees. So that idea was in there.
it's awesome.
I'm going to go off of that a little bit more. Do you foresee any other jerky books in the future? Other animals? Because that was one of the discussions I've had with some of my littles as well.
Yeah, I don't think we're working on a follow-up, a new adventure for Lorelai. It's not a it's not a jerk-based animal. It's but it is going to be we're thinking like pandas right now, but it's not more about like look focused on like their behavior, like the fact that like they sleep so much and they eat so much, like they like as someone's pointed out to me before, like everyone loves to go to see the pandas at the zoo, but they're also the most boring things to see because usually they're asleep or they're just eating, and that's typically it. So I'm not exactly sure what it is yet, but that's what we're thinking. Scholastic and I have been talking about it. I really wanted to do when they asked me about, do they have any ideas for follow-up books? I really wanted to do a book about like turkey vultures because I feel like they're really misunderstood. But that's going to have to be maybe something I come back to later.
I could give you another one, sloth. I really wanted when I
Oh
went to
yeah, that's
vacation things
good.
that I
Yeah.
was going to see and wanted to encounter a sloth in real life. No, they're so gross and disgusting and like slime and mold and like gross. And they're just,
Right.
and everybody's like, I want to touch a sloth. I'm like, no, not I've seen them in real life. In the wild, not worth it.
Right.
Not worth it
That's a
at
good
all.
one. Yeah.
Gross. Um, you mentioned author visits. Are there some tips that you would like to share with us from the author perspective? Because, many of us do author visits. Any tips that you would like to share of what you would like to see with an author visit from school librarians, or any type of questions that you're like, please don't have your kids ask these, or yeah.
Now, I don't, as far as questions, like I get asked a lot of different things. And they're always fun. Like there's never been a question where I was like, oh, again. They're always cool. Um, the kids are always a lot of fun. Like I really, really, you can tell like the schools that you go to visit where the librarian is really like, they have spent time reading the books and knowing sort of the stuff that the other stuff that the author's done, and so those schools are always like really exciting to go to just because the kids are so enthusiastic. um yeah, I think that's the most noticeable thing for me when I go to visit. Like you just you can tell, like the kids are always like a lot of fun and they're always very sweet, but you can tell, the difference between the kids that like have there's the librarians have been sharing your books before you got there, and then the ones that like maybe they know just like the one or two books, but yeah, that's I think that's a big that's always exciting for me when I go to a school to see that.
We're already halfway through our time. I can't believe our time is going so fast. If you guys have questions, please put them in the chat and we'll make sure we get to them. I have a couple more questions, but then I wanted to make sure that you guys also have your questions answered. We're so glad that you're here. So what are some of your um, ways that you interact with your reluctant readers? Like, what are some things as an illustrator and even as an author? I know some of them is poetry, or some of it's like your um, text features. What are some things that
Mm.
you definitely that you're conscious of doing when you're building your book from the ground up?
Yeah, I think that the word balloons I think are a good one. And like I said earlier, like that's just sort of like default for me, but I think it like you said earlier, like I think that that's something that kids are more apt to pick up and read versus just text on a big blocks of text on a page. I think avoiding that, like the big blocks of text on a page, like I think that that can be kind of intimidating. um Illustration wise, like I think color is always like a great thing. It's something that I love. It's probably one of my favorite parts of making picture books, really. I think if you can make it look enticing, like that's kids are more prone to sit down and read it. But my biggest thing though is like humor. Like if it makes me laugh, I think that that's a pretty good. Yeah, I shouldn't say that it'll make other people laugh because I have children in my own home and I make jokes all the time and they don't laugh. But
That's a dad joke, though. That's just because
right,
you're
right,
dad.
exactly. That's what I tell them. It's like one day you'll have a sense of humor, children. But I think that that's I think that's an important element of picture books. I think just to make them funny and fun to read, you know.
And using naughty words. Having
Right.
so many of your kids, how many times have you been told, why? Why did you use it? And I know you gave us the rationale and reason why for Laura,
Yeah.
but
Okay, so for this book, I have to tell you though, for this book, so it was always Seals or Jerks just because, that's what Lorelai said.
right.
But when we went to sell the book, that was one of the things Scholastic said. They're like, we do a lot of business in schools, would you be open to changing the title? And I said, absolutely. And so we made the book, and then my editor had been. I was supposed to have been thinking about the title, and she was going to be thinking about the title, and then she sent me an email one day, and she said, "I've thought and thought and thought about it, and I can't come up with anything that's better than Jerks. Like everything else is just like too soft and not just it doesn't hit right." And so she was like, "If you're cool with it, let's keep it." I was like, "Great." And then and I really did expect for there to be teachers or parents to be like, what are you doing? Have you lost your mind? But no one has said that yet. But um, when I was on tour for with the book, we were in Georgia, and I was supposed to have gone to a school, and for some reason they had to cancel, and so I had a free morning, and I was there with the bookstore, and so someone at the bookstore was like, "Hey, we're fixing to have story time. Do you want to read your book?" And I felt like I couldn't say no. I was like, sure. And so I get up there to read, and it is a room full of toddlers. And I was like, oh no. And so, yeah, I did apologize to a room full of parents. I was like, all right, guys, I'm just letting you know this is the title of the book. say it a few times. So, if you need to cover ears or, step out of the room, I completely understand. But I had no word yet on if if the kids started saying that outside of story time. I don't know.
Well, I haven't heard that you've been banned from a certain bookstore in Georgia, so I
Oh,
think you're okay.
good.
I think you're okay.
Good.
Now, granted, we're in Missouri, so that type of
Right.
story may not.
Good. Well, if you hear of anyone like,
Right.
burning books, copies of Seals
Right,
or
right,
Jerks,
right, right,
that might have been it.
right. What's on your horizon? We've already talked, there's another animal book, but what else are you doing for your future?
Yeah, I've got so this past March I had a book come out with Dev Petty called Monty and the Mushrooms. And so I'm working on the sequel to that right now. I'm actually almost through with it. And as a matter of fact, when I get done with this, I'll go back to working on it. And so I've got that coming up. I've got a book with Viking that's going to be coming out, I think next year. No, sorry, in 27. And it's called it is the most wonderfully weird book I've ever worked on in my life. It's called Save Us Space Mermaids. And it's fantastic. The author is great. And uh what else? I've got a book coming out with Scott Rothman. I can't remember when it comes out, but it's called Unicorn Printer, and it's about a kid who finds like a 3D printer in the woods, but it only prints unicorns, and then prints off a few unicorns, and the unicorns figure out how to print more copies of themselves, and so it's just chaos. Um, and then outside of that, I've got a an early graphic novel series with uh, Candlewick that's going to be coming out in the next couple of years called Sam and Stag, and it's about a stegosaurus and a woolly mammoth who are friends in the Ice Age. Don't know why there's a stegosaurus. It's never explained, but they in the first book they invent the world's first pair of pants because the stegosaurus is so cold, which I understand.
Well, especially if you're in Texas and you have this type of background, I mean, goodness.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
right,
Yeah, and I'm not wearing a jacket, so
right. Definitely need those pants. So
right.
I am at the end of my questions. Are there any questions that people would like to share or things to share? I know Rebecca has said that her students love Seals or Jerks. It's such a fun book. Totally agree. Um, and I have to admit, I'm a high school librarian. I'm only grades 9 through 12, but I have had my early childhood special ed students come over and we have enjoyed reading. So I was like, I have a special book, and they're like, this is so fun. So when I was talking about my
Oh,
littles, I
that's
was talking
awesome.
about those. So yes, I was like, please let me know if their parents come back and complain that I've taught
Right.
them a naughty word. But I was like that's how they are. They're mean. So
Right, right, exactly. You got to watch out for the sills.
right. So any questions? And if you want to unmute yourself, you can also ask that way too. Well, if not, Jared, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Just so that you are aware, your book is one of our top 10 Show Me nominees for this year. So our students will be voting in March for those top 10, and then that winner gets announced in April. So we look
Oh,
forward
that's
to
awesome.
seeing the results of that top 10. I think there's some even Show Me nominee or Show Me award Readers Award Committee members on this call right now. So we appreciate your work, and just know
Well,
that school librarians really do think that authors and illustrators, and especially those that do it all, are rock stars. So thanks for joining us tonight, and have a great
well,
evening.
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to, listen to me ramble. So, thank you.
Definitely not. So, okay, at this time, we're going to proceed. I'm going to share my screen to show the rest of the MASL message, and we are going to go through the other, um, there we go through the other announcements. So we have a few that we're not able to come on tonight, so I'll try to share those announcements as we go. Curriculum committee, the biggest thing they want to talk about is the virtual, and I've got to lower that for me. Oop. I'm screen sharing, but now I lost it. Okay. The virtual PD on January 29th and February 23rd is really over the new Missouri School Library Program standards. Those were revealed at spring conference last year. But now that you've had a little bit of time to deep dive into those, they want to have the standards committee wants to have some focus sessions to match the needs of Missouri school librarians. There is a bit.ly that you can fill out a form, and that will give them the opportunity to really know what those 2 days are going to be covering. We're we're not going to shy away from some of the hard conversations. So if your hard conversation and what you're really struggling with is, for instance, your staffing issues or your collection issues, we can have those type of conversations. So you can join either one or both of the virtual PD opportunities are going to be different both times, and they're going to be geared to what we need to talk about. January 29th and February 23rd, both of those are at 6 o'clock. Um, you'll have a little bit of time to explore the framework, but then you'll also have more time to break into collaborative work groups to practice using those standards. So at this time, if you could fill out the bit.ly survey, and then you can also register for those for one or both of those January 29th and February 23rd PD opportunities. Thanks to the curriculum committee for housing our standards and getting those program standards um, out to where school libraries across the state can start using those. Next, we had an update from Desi. Lisa Scroggs wanted me to make sure that everybody knew, and I'll just read this to make sure I have it correct. The state law requires that all Missouri public and charter schools adhere to reading success plan requirements for grades K through 12. For more information, please contact Desi's Office of Literacy at literacy@desi.mo.gov. A lot of schools at this point, when I was in a call with her earlier, she was talking gearing towards 6 through 12 and making sure school districts were in compliance with that. But it's always great as school librarians to know you might not be the reading teacher, but to know that how you can support your teachers through the reading success plan is definitely how one of those ways that you can. Legislative, Sarah, are you on the call? I don't know if she was able to make it or not. Okay, we just wanted to make sure that you had saved the date. Our Legislative Advocacy Day is coming. It will be with Missouri Library Association, Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026 in Jefferson City. Anybody can join us. You do not have to be part of the legislative committee to come. In fact, the more people we have, the more opportunity we have to meet with more legislators. And we have found that legislators really don't mind us coming to talk to them, but if we say we are one of their constituents, they really don't mind talking to us. So you will be able to hear a little bit of briefing of what's happening in the library land in terms of legislation that has been considered and filed. It's early February, so pre-filing starts in December. Committees are in place, so some of that will already have been moving through. But it's early enough in the season that in the session that we can actually make an impact. In the afternoon is talking to our elected officials. So be watching for those, but save that date, Tuesday, February 3rd, and come join us in Jefferson City. Next, we have Librarians for Inclusive Literacy. I don't know if Gabby is on. There were several that could not make it tonight. They just want to remind you on Thursday this week is their very first MASL Inclusive Book Club. Um, they are going to talk about two different books, Rebellious Read Alouds and Books and Bros. So join the book club. It's still time to register. And remember that this is open to even adults who are not school librarians, you can invite your administrators, you can invite classroom teachers. There will be another virtual one February 5th, and then the live at spring conference April meeting as well. That will be coming. I feel like I've talked a lot, so I apologize. Scholarships, grants, and recognitions. Is Jana on? She wasn't for sure she was going to make it either. SGR has several different opportunities for scholarships, grants, and recognitions. Please feel free to apply. The deadline is December 15th. So there's lots of different ones out there, and we all know that school librarians are making big impacts on their students and doing great things in their library. So this is a great chance for you to celebrate yourself and those around you. The nominations are there as well. Okay, spring conference. I know I've seen some people from spring conference. Who wants to talk?
I'm here.
Go for it,
So
Sarah.
just letting everyone know we've got two excellent keynote speakers that we have booked already. We have Dr. Joe Sanfilippo and Dr. Seema Yasmin. Both have just done wonderful things in terms of building communities. Joe Sanfilippo is a superintendent of a large school, and if you're not sure, if you haven't heard of him, I would follow him. He does like a 1 minute walk to work. And he just gives great advice about building communities and engaging with people. And that's one of our big themes it is our big theme for spring conference. And then Dr. Seema Yasmin, she has a book that came out a few years ago called What the Fact. And it's a lot about misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, and she's going to be doing a virtual keynote for us. So we're really excited to have both of those fabulous speakers as part of our spring conference this year. And then we'll go to the next slide. Speaking of great people to speak at conference, you can be one of our amazing people speaking at conference, sharing all of the wonderful things that you do in your library. And so all of our proposals are due December 15th, and we'd love to have you be part of the conference this year, sharing all of your amazing library wisdom with folks.
And since we are building communities, we want to shout out your library community. We want to be able to feature everyone across the state. So please, please, please submit photos from your library. It can have you in it. It can have other people in it. It can be whatever you want to show us about your library community. We want to post these on socials, and of course, they'll be playing during MASL Spring Conference.
I am so looking forward to this event. It's one of my favorite times of year, and I know many people really look forward to it as well. So if you have not registered, please make sure you register for spring conference. You won't want to miss out.
And then we don't have a slide for this, but we also wanted to talk about authors as well.
Oh, go for it.
Sorry, I did forget that. That's my job. Sorry. Yes, we are still looking for authors and illustrators to come and be part of our author exclusive event. So please reach out if you know anyone, if you have contact with an author or an illustrator, we would love to reach out to them and see if they would be interested in coming to spring conference to meet all of us. We will be reaching out to those very soon if it has not already started. We will be reaching out very soon through C2C. So please, please, please let somebody on the spring conference committee know if you know an author or an illustrator that might be interested in coming to conference.
Fantastic. And I know a lot of times we will do those that are more local because we don't really give, they pay their own expenses. So one of the things, girls, I don't want to go too fast. Are you good? Okay. So with that in mind, I'm going to share that our next MASL Message Live is going to feature Missouri author Jody Jensen Schaefer. I met Jody as for several years, spent Kansas had their nerd camp in Heston, and we got to become close friends there. So December is going to be just like last year, the president's my favorite things. And so when I saw Jody, I asked her to join us, and she has gotten some, or she will have, they come out next month, or come out this month, have some brand new riddle puzzle books from Highlights. And so she is joining us in December. So make sure you register. You also will want to know that I spent quite a bit of time at AASL talking to different vendors and have a slew of prizes to give away. So you will want to join us for that. You do have to be present to win, but there will be quite a few different prizes from different vendors from the AASL exhibit hall. So with that in mind, we are at the end of our MASL message. If there is any questions, I will stop sharing so that I can see the screen. Otherwise, we are good to go. So thanks for joining us tonight. Be watching your emails for the MASL message that will come out. The recording of this will be part of that. And then don't forget to register for the book club, as well as filling out the survey for the curriculum committee for the program standards, and then joining us next month for MASL Message Live. Have a great rest of your evening. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our MASL Message Live in November. I'm Jen Baldwin, your MASL president, and we do this once a month on the second Monday of each month from 6 to 7 to give you some updates about MASL, as well as introduce you to a very important person in our world of school librarians. This